Hey guys, today I want to tell you about my absolute favorite handheld portable recorder. I think it's super important to have one of these lying around in case you need to just grab a recorder and go. You don't have time to think about it, you need to record dialogue or sound effects, and you really don't have time to do anything else besides just pick up and hit record. I've never really been a big fan of the Zooms, the H4, the H5, or the H6, and even Tascam, as great as their DR100 series is, it's not really my speed personally with the ergonomics and the menu navigation. I ended up picking up a much older recorder called the Sony PCMD50. This little thing got recommended to me back in 2011, and I picked it up used off of eBay. It came with a little Rycote windscreen and a little case as well to make sure it stayed safe whenever I was traveling with it. And it's probably my most used recorder of any of the ones that I've had my hands on. It's gone through guns and cars and wind and rain and oceans and all kinds of different environments. It's pretty much bulletproof. Big features that I like about this. First, it records 24-bit 96 kilohertz uncompressed wave files, which I use for sound design all the time because they're so much better at being pitch stretched and time stretched without kind of falling apart. Lower resolution files will tend to artifact more and really don't give the longevity and the usability that you'd expect with sound design. So having that right out of the box is great. I did a couple of videos on bit depth and sample rate if you want to know more, but basically the higher the better in both cases. Next big thing, it has two built-in small cap condenser microphones that you can actually change the positioning of in relation to each other. So if you really wanted to record with an XY pickup pattern, you can just shift these microphones into place, and now I've got a much more point source recording that I can pan much more easily. It sounds a little bit more narrow, so if I'm recording something that's going to sound a little bit more mono in my stereo image, this just allows me to do that natively. I can also shift them back out to be at 120 degrees out from each other. This is simulating a microphone technique called an ORTF spaced pair. Obviously, it's not really far apart, but the ORTF sounds a little bit more immersive in comparison to an XY. So by angling these microphones out like this, I can get really nice, lush, and immersive recordings out of just this little handheld. Big point with recorders like this, I want them to be really simple to use and really easy to access. So the fact that I've got a power switch right here, as well as the main level control so readily accessible, I can set this up and go anywhere. I don't have to think about it. It's very simple to operate. Also, before I'm actually ready to capture sounds, I can record arm this recorder and it'll capture up to 5 seconds of sort of pre-roll. So it's recording at all times, even though I'm not actually rolling the recording. And when something happens, if I hit record right after a sound actually occurs, it's going to have rolled back that 5 seconds and captured whatever was going on at the time, so I never actually miss anything that I might have wanted to capture. There aren't any XLR jacks on this, so I can't use any external microphones, but it does have a tiny 3.5mm jack that I can use microphones that are compatible with that, like the LAM Micro Uzis, for example, which I'm really excited to test out. I just got a pair shipped to me. Any mic that I can plug into there is going to be going through the preamps on this Sony, which sound great. They're quiet for what they are. A lot of the Zooms have really noisy preamps, especially at high gain. So if you're trying to record something quiet, you really can't do it because the preamps generate so much white noise. The Sony is much quieter than a lot of the Zoom models, even some of the newer ones. So I'd rather take this and record with the built-in mics, just whatever I'm going to capture, because it's going to sound cleaner at the end of the day than many of the modern handheld recorders out there. Couple of other big things, it's got a built-in low frequency cut switch. So if you're recording really, really low end intense sounds, you can actually roll those frequencies off so you don't clip your microphone inputs. It's also got built-in limiters that you can choose the response time of. So if you're recording something like guns that are really fast, aggressive transients, you can set this recorder to make sure it's not going to clip, it's going to sound good. Or if you're recording ambiances that don't really have the necessity for limiters like that, you can turn them off and it's totally flexible. This thing is also pretty bulletproof. I've dropped it, I've taken it out in rain and wind. It's been splashed aggressively by the ocean a couple of times, and I've even recorded with it in over 100-degree heat for hours, and it really lasts. And speaking of the time that can actually record, this is 4 AA batteries in here, and it can go for over 14 hours per set of batteries easily. I've gotten up to 20 hours of straight record time on this with no problem. I think that's one of the biggest points for me that makes it super useful. I never have to worry if I'm going to run out of power. It's got a built-in file management system, so I can manage all my files directly on the recorder if I need to delete something or re-record. It splits files at the 2 GB mark if you have really long recordings, which is great. If you lose power, you're not going to lose all of your recordings as well. And it's got a headphone jack with a separate line out, so if you need to listen back on headphones to this recorder recorder and run the feed over to a camera for any reason, you have the capability to do so easily. I'll play you a few of the sound effects that I've captured with this recorder over the years. I think they've really stood up to the test of time. It's done a fantastic job for a little handheld. Unfortunately, you can't buy them new anymore, but you can definitely find them floating around on eBay, anywhere between $100 and $250 or so. I think they're totally worth it if you can grab it, and as far as portable recorders, this would be still my #1 recommendation for anybody who's looking for a budget option that's going to get you great results. Real quick, I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is an amazing online learning community where members can find thousands of inspiring classes to explore new skills, dive deeper into passions, and really lose themselves in creativity. Whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just starting out, you'll be able to discover new ways to build and hone real-world skills that are taught by creative professionals who empower you to grow. Skillshare curates ad-free classes that are entirely dedicated to learning, and they're constantly adding more premium classes, so you can explore at your own pace and focus entirely on creativity. When I'm not working on sound, I love taking photos and exploring. One of my favorite adventure photographers is Chris Burkhardt, and he has a class called Outdoor Photography, shooting at sunset, sunrise, and night. Chris breaks down the fundamentals of using light to create stunning visuals, and for less than $10 a month, you can learn directly from him and thousands of other creative pros who are sharing their knowledge on Skillshare. So go check out the link in the description. The first 1,000 people to click it will get a free 2-month premium membership so you can learn and grow as a creative. That takes care of it for the Sony PCMD50. If you enjoyed, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe. I'm over on Instagram at AXK, so come follow me over there. And as always, thanks for watching.